Hey everyone, welcome back to Kubrick Corner with me, Sean Wilson. So you may have heard that there's a new movie out from writer-director Rian Johnson, who made the likes of Looper and Brick, and also more famously Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which generated some very divisive opinions, to say the least. I'm talking about his new project, Knives Out, which is out in the UK on the 27th of November, and which I've seen and which I'm pleased to say I absolutely loved. So to bring you up to speed on it, it's a Blackley comic whodunit in the manner of the literary works of Agatha Christie, and also the films of Agatha Christie's novels, and also other murder mystery sort of comedy movies like Clue. All of this is kind of blended in together to create what is both a loving homage to the classic whodunit thriller, but also a very witty deconstruction of that. The movie works on two levels very cleverly. It's got a very good screenplay from Rian Johnson, and I'd be very surprised not to see the screenplay at the very least in line for an Oscar nomination in the next few months. So the plot: wealthy crime writer and family patriarch Harlan Thrombey, played by Christopher Plummer, is found dead in his big family mansion. His family had gathered to celebrate his birthday, but of course there are lots of skeletons in lots of closets. There's lots of figurative backstabbing going on. Various members of the family don't trust each other, don't like each other. And Daniel Craig is the private detective Benoit Blanc, who has been hired anonymously from a mysterious source to come in and solve what was going on. Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter, who's a sort of very sort of uptight sort of businesswoman, very quite severe, who thinks that her father has committed suicide. There are various other sort of interpretations as to what's gone on, where all these various family members stand in relation to the deceased. Daniel Craig's character Benoit Blanc is a classic like Hercule Poirot style character. He's quite reserved and standoffish and appears to be lagging behind where everyone else is, but of course we know that he is two steps in front, and what he's doing is he's attempting for the puzzle pieces to sort of click into place along with his own investigation. Though, as he puts it, he makes a rather elaborate donut analogy, which is sort of befitting his character, because he's from the deep south, the home of sort of cuisine and so on and so forth. He's got what's described as a foghorn leghorn accent, like drawling accent, which is intentionally quite a ridiculous theatrical accent. It's a bit wobbly, but it works for the character, because frankly Daniel Craig is having a lot of fun playing this character, more fun than I've seen him have in a very long time. He's potentially set to bow out as Bond with next year's No Time to Die, which is the 25th Bond movie and his fifth Bond movie. So I, for one, would love to see a return to the Blancaverse. Were Daniel Craig interested in reuniting with Rian Johnson again, because I think he's having an absolute blast with this character as he sort of gets to the heart of all this skullduggery and what is a very troubled family, all with very complex interlocking secrets. But really the interesting thing is, although Daniel Craig kind of top lines, and you have the likes of Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Chris Evans, Don Johnson, Toni Collette, various others, all playing the sort of warring family members to brilliantly scene-chewing effect, the real star of the movie is actually Ana de Armas, who plays the Thrombey's sort of carer, who has apparently been taken into the bosom of this family. Would that they could actually remember where she's from. Is she from Uruguay? Is she from Paraguay? Is she from Bolivia? All of these people are like kind of very two-faced, and they kind of accept her as a member of the family. When the chips are down, they barely remember where she's from, and she actually is the kind of moral heart of the story. She is the one who is beset on all sides by all of these various sort of twisty-turny revelations that are thrown out very rapidly at the audience. And she, actually, Ana de Armas is the star-making performance in the movie, and she's certainly the most likeable character, and she's really good. There is also a brilliant device whereby she has a physical reaction to lying. She pukes upon lying, which initially is set up as a gag, but then actually becomes a very clever dramatic device that is interwoven into the narrative. and there are lots and lots of twists as you'd expect thrown at the audience. I mean, one of the things the film does brilliantly, as I said, it's very meta. It's not only a very, very satisfying whodunit in its own right, it is also a commentary on the pleasure, on the vicarious pleasure of watching and reading whodunits. There are lots of like peripheral characters who take great relish in being in the presence of Daniel Craig's private detective, who does have a reputation for getting to the heart of very, very complex matters. And one could see the characters within the story are, many of them are actually relishing watching the tale kind of unfold, and as are we. So it's a very, very sly story. There is also a very, very clever use of identification with certain characters to kind of wrong foot us as to what might actually be going on. There's almost a kind of Rashomon thing going on with various conflicting points of view as to like what happened, what didn't happen, who's lying, who's telling the truth, and so on and so forth. So the screenplay is very well done. I think it's directed with a huge amount of brio. It's really well shot by Steve Yedlin, who incidentally shot The Last Jedi, but it's got a really rich kind of autumnal feel. There's lots of like lovely tracking shots through oak panelled interiors with like log burning fires. That makes it a perfect time to release the movie now in November. Wonderful score by Nathan Johnson, who is Rian Johnson's cousin, which is good. It starts with these sort of jumpy, jittery strings, which have this kind of ironically macabre sound to them, and then it kind of develops into this kind of like decadent, sleazy jazz, which is oddly appropriate for depicting this kind of appalling family at the centre of the story, who are this kind of like nouveau rich family who like to harp on about their own family ancestry, when in fact the situation is anything but. And actually that is the key. There are a lot of very, very nicely satirical barbs aimed at the rich in this. It's very much a film for the here and now. That subtext isn't laboured, but it gives the movie a kind of bit of added spice away from all of the whodunit shenanigans, which are in themselves very gripping and very funny. I really enjoyed it. Daniel Craig is having a blast. The rest of the cast is having an absolute ball as well. I mean, Chris Evans is as the black sheep of the family who didn't turn up to the wake but turned up to the will reading is very good. No doubt, if you've seen the trailer, you will have got a sense of that. It's really good fun, and I think it's a real crowd pleaser. Certainly, the audience I saw it with were having an absolute whale of a time. So it's out in the UK on the 27th of November. So if you're planning to go and see it, let me know here at Kubrick Corner, and I'll see you soon. Bye.